Aaron Keener, call sign Vanguard, was a first-wave strategic Homeland division agent who would go on to disavow the division and go rogue. His intelligence and all-round cockiness has by far made him one of the most popular antagonists in the franchise, so when his part in the story suddenly ended, we were left asking a ton of questions. Fortunately, with Year 5 having now been announced, we can see that Season 3 will be revealing more details around Aaron Keener and his rogues. So for now, this video will be a recap of everything we know about him so far. Aaron Keener is a complex and ambiguous individual whose personality encompasses a range of traits and characteristics. He is known for his intelligence, adaptability, and strategic thinking, which have played significant roles in shaping his actions and decisions. Keener possesses a high level of intelligence, allowing him to analyze situations and devise intricate plans. His intellectual prowess enables him to understand complex systems and exploit their weaknesses to his advantage. He is a quick thinker, capable of making calculated decisions, even under immense pressure. Adaptability is another key aspect of Keener's personality. He has shown the ability to adjust and thrive in various environments, whether it be his military service, Wall Street career, or his role within the strategic Homeland division. This adaptability allows him to navigate different social dynamics and effectively manipulate those around him to further his own goals. While Keener's intellect and versatility contribute to his success, they also highlight his manipulative nature. He possesses a talent for persuasion, effortlessly convincing others to join his cause or carry out his bidding. His personable demeanor allows him to build rapport with individuals, creating a sense of trust and loyalty that he can exploit to further his own agenda. Underneath his charming facade, there is a darker side to Keener's personality. He is driven by a strong sense of self-interest and is willing to do whatever it takes to achieve his goals, even if that means resorting to ruthless tactics or sacrificing the lives of others. This ruthless nature, combined with his brilliance and flexibility, makes him a formidable adversary. Despite his flaws and morally questionable actions, Keener possesses a charismatic aura that draws people towards him. He has the capability to inspire loyalty and convince others to follow his lead, even if that means deviating from their own plans and morals. This charismatic manipulation contributes to his strengths in assembling a loyal group of followers and directing them to serve his own agenda. It's also worth noting that Keener's version of help often comes at a significant cost. His methods can involve violence, manipulation, and the sacrifice of innocent lives. He operates in a morally grey area where the ends justify the means in his mind. While some may argue that his actions have unintended consequences and may cause more harm than good, Keener genuinely believes that he is working towards a better future. Additionally, Keener has used his intelligence and knowledge to expose the corruption and hidden agendas of powerful organizations, such as the Strategic Homeland Division and the Black Tusk. In his twisted logic, he believes that by revealing the true nature of these groups and forcing them to confront their own flaws, he is ultimately helping humanity by removing the veil of false security. He possesses a unique perspective on the world and believes that by dismantling the existing systems, he can bring about a new order that he considers more just and humane. Although seen as one of the biggest threats to the division and all humanity, there have been instances where he has shown his willingness to help others, albeit in his own twisted way. One such example is the events with a firefighter and his family, which stands as a compelling reminder of the intricate layers that compose Aaron Keener's personality.
Clear! All hostiles down!
You folks okay?
Yeah, thanks to you.
Anybody else alive in there?
No. These guys were offering us a place to stay until my chief could pull some strings and get us back to Brooklyn.
Well, that's not gonna happen. You can't stay here. You better come with us. We'll get you somewhere safe.
We will?
Yes, we will.
We sure appreciate it.
Try to keep up.
Hey man, what are you doing?
Right this second?
With these strays, you got a thing for firemen?
They seem like decent people in a bad situation.
There's a lot of decent people in bad situations on this fucking island. We're gonna give them an armed escort too?
Maybe, if I decide they deserve one.
I don't get a say in this.
No, you don't.
Don't look, Gracie. Keep your eyes closed.
These guys are JTF.
They were.
What happened here?
They got shot.
By who? I don't see any other bodies.
Does it matter? Grab anything useful. We need to move.
I think they killed those JTF guys.
How do you know?
Some of them were shot in the back. A few of them weren't even carrying weapons.
Why would they shoot JTF?
I don't know. I'm not sure I want to know. I mean, if they wanted to kill us, what's stopping them?
You guys really suck at whispering. Get some rest. Tomorrow's a big day. I told you I'd get you to safety. I'm a man of my word. Now wait about an hour and then row as hard as you can for the other shore.
You want us to wait?
Now, this part of the Hudson flows both ways. Right now, it's slack tide. The ebb current will make crossing a lot easier and faster.
What if we're spotted?
Oh, with this wind, you should have plenty of time to get across between patrols.
Thanks for keeping your word.
I remember what I said. This situation's only gonna get worse. Avoid crowds and assume everybody you meet is a threat. And you might have a chance.
Hope your technical difficulties get sorted out.
We'll manage.
You about ready?
In a minute.
How long are you gonna sit there? They made it. They're safe. Can we go now?
What's the rush? You got somewhere you need to be?
You still haven't told me why we helped them.
A guilty conscience? Is that what you want to hear? Trying to offset my misdeeds with a random act of kindness.
Helping strangers doesn't really follow the recruiting pitch. Just want to know if you're gonna make this a regular thing.
All right, what's with the interrogation?
You put us at risk. I want to know why.
Truth? He went into the building.
He what?
When we first saw him in the West Village. The smart thing would have been to get the hell out of there. That's what most people would have done. But he didn't do the smart thing. He did the right thing.
That's bullshit. The smart thing is the right thing.
Maybe. Probably. But it made me want him to survive.
So it was a fireman thing.
Come on, let's get out of here. We have work to do.
Recognizing the perilous situation and driven by a sense of duty, Keener decided to step in and offer his assistance. Despite the darkness that lurked within him, his checkered past and being a rogue agent, he understood the importance of protecting the vulnerable in times of crisis. Ultimately, Aaron Keener's actions underscored the multidimensionality of his persona, blurring the lines between hero and villain. And his deeds, both good and bad, contributed to the intricate narrative of this situation and the many events within the game's story. However, it's important to note that Keener's noble acts are more of an exception rather than the norm in his overall trajectory, as often any subsequent actions and choices are eventually overshadowed as he reverts back to his more sinister nature. He will always continue to pursue his own controversial agenda and wage his own personal war against the existing order. Aaron Keener's privileged upbringing provided him with a head start in life and access to resources that many others did not have. Coming from a wealthy family, he enjoyed certain advantages and opportunities that shaped his early years. Growing up in an environment of comfort and affluence, Keener had access to quality education, extracurricular activities, and a supportive network. He received the best schooling available, allowing him to develop his intellect and expand his horizons. This privileged background helped foster a sense of confidence and entitlement within him. He was an ambitious and driven individual, always seeking new challenges and opportunities to prove himself. He possessed sharp intellect and a natural aptitude for strategic thinking, which set him apart from his peers. Aaron Keener eventually enrolled in the Citadel, the esteemed military college of South Carolina. This decision marked a pivotal moment in his life, as it set the foundation for his future accomplishments in the military and beyond. The Citadel, renowned for its rigorous academic and military training programs, provided Keener with a comprehensive education that fostered discipline, leadership, and a strong sense of duty. Immersed in a structured environment, he honed his physical and mental abilities, developing the necessary skills to excel in challenging situations. During his time at the Citadel, Keener underwent extensive military training, preparing him for the demanding responsibilities that lay ahead. From physical fitness exercises to tactical simulations, he acquired the knowledge and practical experience needed to navigate the complexities of military life. The college also instilled in Keener a deep appreciation for values such as integrity, honor, and service. These principles would shape his character and influence his actions throughout his career. By immersing himself in the Citadel's rigorous academic curriculum and embracing his military training, Keener was equipped with a strong foundation that would prove invaluable in his future endeavors. After completing his education, he sought a path that would allow him to make a meaningful impact and fulfill his sense of duty. He found his calling in the military, where he enlisted with a strong determination to serve his country and protect its citizens. He served a tour of duty at Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti. Keener proved to be a dedicated and disciplined soldier. He demonstrated exceptional leadership skills, earning the respect of his comrades and superiors. After leaving the military, Aaron Keener transitioned into a completely different world, Wall Street. Utilizing his sharp decision-making skills and the discipline he acquired during his military service, Keener embarked on a career as a futures trader. Working on Wall Street, Keener found himself in the midst of the fast-paced and cutthroat environment of high finance. With his intellect and adaptability, he quickly made a name for himself, demonstrating an innate ability to navigate the complexities of the financial markets. Keener's military background likely played a significant role in his success on Wall Street. The discipline, strategic thinking, and risk management skills he honed during his time in the military transitioned well into the world of finance. His capacity to assess and seize opportunities, combined with a calculated approach to risk, allowed him to thrive in this competitive industry. As a futures trader, Keener would have been involved in analyzing market trends, making predictions, and executing trades based on his insights. His ability to stay calm under pressure and make quick, informed decisions would have been essential in this fast-paced environment. It's worth noting that Keener's transition to Wall Street showcases his versatility and adaptability. Moving from a military career to the finance industry demonstrates his capacity to thrive in different contexts and leverage his skills and knowledge in new and challenging ways. Aaron Keener's personal life has seen him married twice. While specific details around his marriages are limited, it is known that both unions eventually ended in divorce. Despite the dissolution of his marriages, Keener maintained amicable relationships with his ex-spouses. According to one of his ex-wives, he could be demanding and challenging to keep up with, suggesting that he sets high expectations for himself and those around him. This implies that Keener is not one to settle for mediocrity and constantly seeks for self-improvement and excellence in all aspects of his life. Keener's personable nature allows him to build rapport and foster relationships with individuals from diverse backgrounds. He has a knack for understanding people's motivations and desires, which enables him to effectively communicate and collaborate with them. It wasn't long before Keener was noticed by the Strategic Homeland Division's recruitment team. His experience and military expertise positioned him as the ideal candidate for the SHD. When Keener was approached with the opportunity to join the ranks, he eagerly embraced it. The chance to put his abilities to the test in a realm only known to a select few intrigued him. He recognized the gravity of the situation and understood that the tasks ahead would require only the very best. As a part of the first wave of division agents, Aaron Keener was among the individuals chosen to be activated in response to the outbreak of the green poison. With the city ravaged by the deadly virus, Keener's mission was clear: to restore order and provide security in the face of chaos. One of his primary objectives, assigned by the division, was to secure and establish control over what would later become known as the Dark Zone. This designated area, originally conceived as a containment zone for infected citizens, presented unique challenges and dangers. It was a lawless and volatile territory where desperation and survival instincts ran high among both the infected and the remaining survivors. Amidst the chaos and escalating violence that engulfed the streets of Manhattan, Aaron Keener and his fellow division agents followed their mission protocols. Tasked with preserving order and upholding the quarantine measures, they stood as the last line of defense against spreading devastation caused by the green poison outbreak. However, Sarah and the JTF had other plans. They would go on to cut their losses and ordered all forces to pull out of the Dark Zone at all costs. Aaron Keener, the first wave agents, and thousands of infected had been abandoned, left to fend for themselves. Keener felt betrayed. During the JTF's retreat, Aaron was leading a group of civilians out of the Dark Zone when they were ambushed by a group of Rikers. Keener sheltered the civilians in an apartment building and continued to fend off the overwhelming number of hostiles. Realizing the direness of the situation, Keener desperately reached out to the JTF for much-needed reinforcements. He relayed the gravity of the ambush and the imminent danger faced by the civilians and himself. However, to his dismay, his pleas fell on deaf ears. The JTF, caught up in their own retreat, denied his request for assistance, leaving him and the civilians to fend for themselves.
Are you listening to me? I brought these people out of the dark zone and we were followed. I tried to hold up in a JTF safe house, but the Rikers out there didn't back off. If you don't pull us out, these people are all dead.
It's Lima Charlie Vanguard, but that zone is too hot for extraction. You'll sit tight and wait further instructions. Angel 6 out.
So that's it? We just wait to die?
Not if I can help it.
After a Molotov cocktail was thrown into the building, everyone was killed, apart from Keener, who managed to escape. This incident changed Keener's perspective of the federal government, and it left him disenchanted with his role as a division agent, feeling a great deal of anger and betrayal. It was at this moment that he decided to withdraw from his missions and disavow the strategic Homeland division.
Funny how people act when all the rules break down. Predators, protectors, they start looking an awful lot alike. Hard to tell them apart, don't you think?
As a division agent, Keener felt a sense of duty to protect the weak and innocent. But after being denied help and the civilians under his care were killed by the Rikers, he felt a great deal of anger and betrayal from the government, as he believed he could have saved the civilians, and that the first wave could have saved the Dark Zone altogether had the government been more competent. After going rogue, his determination and perseverance stayed the same, only his goals and loyalties have changed. Keener strongly believes that the man-made contagion that had been introduced had created a new reality, one that infected not just the Dark Zone, or the city of New York, or even the United States, but the entire history of the human species. He now believes that rule and law no longer exists, and that the only way to survive is by obtaining power. His first action after turning rogue was to gather first-wave agents and form a unit that would work with him to achieve his goals. Agents who chose not to ally with him were killed in cold blood.
So I gave you a chance to work with me, and you decided you were gonna turn me in instead.
For God's sake, you don't have to do this. You need help. You've gone crazy.
You're back talking to the guy with the gun. I'd say you're the crazy one. Me, I'm feeling real sane about things. Hang on, I'm just finishing up here. I'll be right over.
If division agents could band together as highly trained individuals with unmatched tactical skills and state-of-the-art gear, they'd form an unstoppable force. A force that would be perfectly suited to seize control of the new world that was being created in front of them. And this was the event that triggered the activation of the second wave of division agents. Aaron Keener would eventually meet with Charles Bliss, the commanding officer of the Last Man Battalion. As the strongest faction in Manhattan, Keener wanted to make use of the LMB to help establish dominance, and Bliss was willing to work with Keener in order to further gain advantage of the other factions using his SHD technology. Together, Keener and Bliss launched many operations against the other factions, including the JTF and the Division, one of the most notable being a missile attack on a JTF helicopter that was carrying the Division's second wave commander, as well as the majority of the second wave division agents. During this time, Keener was also running his own investigation into the dollar flu outbreak. It was around this time that the second wave discovered several bodies of the first wave division agents, and several clues and even CCTV footage that pointed to Aaron Keener and his involvement towards the MIA agents. Later on, the second wave is tasked with saving scientist Dr. Vitaly Tchernenko from the Russian consulate, but when attempting to access the panic room, rogue agents working with Keener break in, kidnapping Tchernenko and escaping via helicopter. It is discovered that Keener has had Tchernenko taken to the LMB headquarters at the United Nations building. The Division and JTF stormed the UN building and put an end to the LMB control over New York, with the secondary objective of finding Tchernenko and Keener. However, Keener was prepared for this. He realizes that the LMB are finished and will be quickly dealt with by the Division. so he evacuates with Chernenko, instructing 2 of his rogue agents to stay behind and jam the SHD tracking hardware, allowing him a clean getaway. The LMB are driven out of the UN building, and Charles Bliss, aware of Keener's betrayal, is defeated while defending his men in a last stand against the government forces. Following the LMB defeat, the division learns that Keener has found Amherst's lab, the creator of the original smallpox virus that has crippled society as we know it. Keener took the virus samples, a 3D DNA printer, and as many of Amherst's research notes that he could fit into a bag, before once again disappearing.
Well, here I am, Aaron Keener, the first wave's prodigal son. Normally I'd do this face-to-face, but I'm not 100% sure which way you'll jump. You act one way when Ms. Lau is watching, and another way entirely when you're off the leash. That's an interesting contradiction. You see, I think that deep down, you get it. You know, the old rules, laws, governments, those things died on Black Friday. But the feral PMCs, the convicts, the ones smart enough and good enough to take what they need, they'll survive. Me? I'm gonna prosper. Oh, you could too, but you took an oath, right? You got a duty. Those are both ways of saying that your conscience is fucking you. You ask yourself, who has earned a right to tell you what to do? Do you know how many agents died to hold the dark zone just for the brass to give up and put a wall around it? You don't believe me? You should check the place out for yourself. But the people you're working for, they're irrelevant now. Amherst changed how the game is played, and I have got the vision to win. I got Chernenko, I got a DNA printer, and a very interesting recipe book. I'm gonna write my own rules. You should think about getting in on this thing. I'll be seeing you.
At this point in time, the division is well aware of Aaron Keener's activities. He is now wanted for high treason, and there is the possibility that he will be now registered as a terrorist. With the recent deployment of both the division and the JTF, the West Side Pier, to help secure the area, numerous smartphone messages have been found in the field, with some of them being left behind by Keener himself. Keener states that he decided to broadcast his location to the West Side Piers in order to bring all hostile factions to the area. At this stage, they all seem to have some sort of feud with him, especially the LMB. This was to ensure that the division would be brought along in order to keep their eyes off the prize. These messages revealed that Keener was indeed in the West Side Pier, hunting down a few things that he needed for his plans. Given the fact that by now, according to him, both central and eastern Manhattan had been picked clean of anything useful to him. His views and feelings towards the government at this stage have only grown in intensity. He expresses his concerns and confusion on why the JTF and the division are wasting their time on helping people who aren't worth it, and that they should just be left behind. His last message states that he is now well and truly gone, and also reveals that he's got his eyes set on not just the United States, but now the world. The final thing that Keener states is that should any second wave division agent who is able to understand and willing to join his mission not bother looking for him, he would find them when the time was right. Six months later, multiple audio logs left behind by Aaron Keener were recovered in Washington, D.C. The majority of these were left behind to further taunt the division, but one of the audio logs talks about the quarantine in Manhattan and how it is falling apart. He also indicates that he has since returned to New York with Vitaly around Coney Island and Brooklyn. Many months later, they both seem to have come out of hiding.
I don't know why he is forcing me to make this. I don't know if I want to know. Keener never does anything by chance. There is always a purpose. At least one. Sometimes 10, for everything he does. I don't want to speculate because it's too dark. Knowing the things he's done, and the things this new virus can do. But if we're lucky, he will use this on himself, and this is all just an elaborate way to get me to kill him in a very dramatic fashion. I don't know how anyone could live with themselves after the things he's done. I don't know how to live with myself. I didn't know what I was doing when I was working with Amherst. That work was about science, not the application. I didn't see the applications, but now, with Keener's virus, I see too many, and all of them terrify me. I'm sorry, Mr. Keener. I don't know what happened.
It's okay. We can try again.
I don't have any more of the viral samples. They were destroyed in the experiment.
That's fine. You don't keep all your eggs in one basket. I can get more.
You have more of the virus?
Of course, Vitali. I can get you whatever you need. Just stay focused on your work and try to stay calm. You make silly mistakes when you're stressed. I wouldn't want you to hurt yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Keener.
Sleep well. I'll get you another sample. I'll see you in the morning.
Good night, Mr. Keener.
Keener was using Vitali to create and perfect his new and improved version of the virus. Vitali was trying his best not to help and in fact sabotage the project, but Keener, being Keener, was prepared for this.
The latest version is more potent and the time from exposure to termination has been cut in half. Average time of death after exposure on the last batch was 5 minutes and 24 seconds. Results are promising. Keener will be pleased. This is not me. This is not who I wanted to be. I wanted to help people. To cure cancer with viruses, not weaponize them. But Keener? He forces me to use my research to... I wish I was brave enough to take my own life, but... I can't. I'm a coward. It would be so easy to just drop a vial on the ground and let it take me. But I can't. If I get it down to 1 minute, then I think I wouldn't be afraid anymore. I could handle that pain for a minute, but not for 5. Okay, back to work.
Vitali was well looked after by Keener, but he is still pushing him to do something that was completely against his morals. Keener is a dangerous man, and Vitali is aware of what he's capable of. Although he's been good to him, as far as one could be when being held captive, Vitali is worried about what might happen to him if he doesn't do what is instructed. He is alone, and he's been a hostage for so long that has no idea if anyone is even looking for him or even knows he's missing. In Vitali's eyes, if he was strong enough, he would have removed himself from the equation long ago. This sort of work wasn't him. He wanted to help people, but he is an academic, not a hero.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Great. So we need to talk about your next project.
Please, Mr. Keener. The results of the latest experiments are violent enough. Please don't make me create something like that again.
Oh, no, Vitali. You misunderstand me.
Are you going to kill me?
Vitali, of course not. I'm letting you go.
You are?
I found a group that will keep you safe. And you've really done exceptional work, and people are starting to take notice.
Who are these people?
Black Tusk. You like them. They're a very elite group and professional. They'll keep you busy.
Eventually, Vitali completed Keener's task. He had created a new weaponized version of the virus that was capable of killing someone who was exposed in just over 5 minutes. So Keener now has a new plan for him. He was gifting him to the Black Tusk. But what was it getting for him in return? Keener is well aware of the value of having such an asset, so the Black Tusk must have something that he really wants.
So what's the deal here? You just going to give us Chernenko?
Yes.
And what do you want in return?
I've got something in mind. Don't worry, it's a reasonable trade. I'll send you the details.
From what I've heard about you, you don't strike me as reasonable.
You can't believe everything you hear, Dolores.
Jones. We're not on a first-name basis. You're not my friend, Keener.
You're a tough cookie, Jones. I respect that.
Keener contacted the Black Tusk commander in New York, stationed on Coney Island. He offered Vitaly as a trade. Knowing Keener and his past, the commander was suspicious and questioned Keener's motives. He simply stated that he has something in mind for a future date. This only pushed her suspicions further, but the Russian scientist was too valuable to pass up this offer.
He's not infected, is he?
Why would he be infected?
You play in the dirt, you tend to get dirty. A virologist without a proper lab? I expect him to have a virus.
He's clean. But if you're worried about it, just put him in quarantine.
You really ain't making it easier to trust you.
I'm sure you've got resources at your disposal. Stick him in a box and have your medics give him a once-over. You'll see. He's healthy as anyone can be in this situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Worried that Vitaly might be infected with the green poison, he was placed in a containment chamber so he could be monitored before moving him on. Vivian Conley, rogue agent, and the newly appointed leader of the Cleaners, is approached by Aaron Keener. He informs her of Vitaly's whereabouts and that the LMB has had him this whole time. Without their leader, they joined up with the Black Tusk and were absorbed into their ranks. On top of this, they handed over custody of the Russian scientist. Consumed by rage and thrilled with the idea of being able to exact revenge on someone they deemed responsible for helping cause the dollar flu outbreak, Conley ordered the Cleaners to assault the Black Tusk on Coney Island.
We're set. 1600. Meet at the ferry terminal.
Fuck yeah. I can't believe you found that fucker.
Good to have friends on the inside.
We ever gonna meet this insider?
Cut the chatter.
Sorry, ma'am.
All right. Who's ready to collect Chernenko's ashes?
The Cleaners didn't know that Conley was getting this information from Keener. Firstly, as Conley said, they don't trust outsiders. And secondly, if we remember from the West Side Piers in the Division 1, all of the factions were hunting Keener down, so it's horrendously unlikely that they would trust any intel coming from him. And they would be right. We can see from these interactions that Keener isn't just betraying the Black Tusk by sending in the Cleaners to have their revenge, but he's also manipulating a fellow rogue agent in order to have her carry out his plans. Vitaly Chernenko doesn't know it, but he's the most valuable asset on the planet right now. The SHD need him to oversee the management and production of the antivirals that are to be dispersed among the population. The Black Tusk want him presumably for the same reason, when they managed to recapture the bioreactor and antivirals from the White House. And the Cleaners, well, they just want to see him burn. However, unfortunately for the Cleaners, the Division beat them to it. They launch a strike on the island, having to throw all caution to the wind in order to extract Vitaly. They had to strike hard and fast before the Black Tusk had time to react. The Division managed to extract Vitaly before the unexpected attack from the Cleaners swept across the island. The Division agents fall back as the Cleaners quickly begin to burn through the remaining forces of Black Tusk. The Black Tusk commander quickly catches on that they have been betrayed by Keener. The SHD find out that Keener is still close and proceed to search for him on the island. While the Keeners are burning everything in sight and the bulk of the Black Tusk force is being kept busy, the Division agents manage to come across and kill the Black Tusk commander, effectively putting an end to the Black Tusk presence on Coney Island.
What the? I lost control of the drone. Who the hell is doing
this? Congratulations, Agent. You got Chernenko. Oh, that's okay. You can keep him. He has served his purpose. Now, this operation went much smoother than I expected, and that is partially thanks to you. I know it's frustrating. I'm right here, and you're right there. But never forget, I will always be one step ahead of you. I'm in control, because I'm not afraid to take control. You still follow orders. That's why you never win. I'll see you real soon.
While scouting the island with a drone to locate Keener, control of the drone was suddenly lost. Although it seems that he wasn't expecting the Division to be involved in this conflict, he certainly doesn't appear to be fazed by their involvement. The Division have once again missed their opportunity to capture Keener, Aaron Keener now has his new virus. His next step was to build a cell of rogue agents to help carry out his plan. Firstly, Vivian Conley. With the offer of Vitaly Tronenko on Coney Island, she and her cleaners were already well under the thumb of Keener. Next was James Dragoff. He would be brought on board along with his new family, the Rikers. Dragoff was completely uninterested in joining his cause. However, he quickly changed his mind when Keener started executing Rikers and threatening to continue to take them down until Dragoff complied. Keener needed access to the supplies that Dragoff was able to acquire and the ability to move them around the city undetected. Following this, Keener approached Theo Parnell, a master hacker and a tech genius. He provided evidence backing up Parnell's growing suspicions about his father's death, conveying to him that the people higher up had shown not to have the best intentions of the people at heart, and that the division was corrupt. With this information, he was able to persuade him to join his side. And finally, there was Javier Kajika. Keener persuaded Kajika to join him in order for the names of the people that betrayed Kajika and his squad during a previous mission. So he now had his team. Their first job was to launch a collection of biological attacks on sites around New York City, and these included City Hall, a number of highly populated areas, and an assortment of JTF facilities. It was this catalyst that led the acting commander of the division in New York, Fei Lau, to request urgent help from the agents in Washington, D.C. Through the use of surveillance footage, the Washington agents quickly established the rogue operatives were a group of former First Wave agents being led by Aaron Keener, and this revelation is what triggered a citywide manhunt for the infamous rogue agent. Undeterred by the division's search for him, Keener continued with his preparations. With Parnell's technological expertise and Dragoff's uncanny ability to provide him with a number of high-tech materials, Keener's plan started to become a reality. The rogue agent network was built, along with more lethal forms of SHD tech and ground-to-air missiles that would aid in spreading the virus.
Keener, sir, I've made some progress on the network.
I'm listening.
I've got it running in a test environment right now. It's virtually untraceable. Since we're piggybacking off of Isaac's system, he can detect the signal, but it's encrypted until we don't want it to be.
What features are we talking here?
It's full suite. All the benefits without any drawbacks.
And scalability?
In theory, it's unlimited. I'm running some simulations, and it's already well beyond our current needs. And we can push out the update from a single device.
That's genius, Theo.
I don't know about all that.
Don't sell yourself so short. You've built an amazing tool for us, with incredibly limited resources.
If you like that, you should see what else I got cooking up.
Yeah, I wish I had the time, but you keep working. I look forward to seeing how this progresses.
Thank you, sir.
With his plans now in full swing, Keener had very little need for his team of rogue agents anymore, and allowed them to be taken down one by the division. They had served their purpose. As a result of the intel gathered from the rogue watchers, Fei Lau was able to pinpoint Keener's location on Liberty Island. The division agents quickly boarded a ferry and proceeded to Keener's location, but the Black Tusk were also looking for Keener, and on their way to the island launched a missile attack aimed at their boat, and was successful in destroying it. However, the agents survived. The Black Tusk then sent ground forces to stop Keener, including a Razorback missile launcher, but the division agents were quickly able to overwhelm their forces. Throwing in everything they had left, the Black Tusk sent a Marauder-class quadcopter and a number of warhounds. But Keener's new, more advanced SHD tech was able to hack the quadcopter and warhounds, and he turned them against the division agents. The agents were successful in stopping the hacked forces, but now that all Black Tusk forces on the island had been eliminated, they had no choice but to abandon the attack, leaving Keener and the division agents to finish the fight. Fighting through Keener's heavy spam of SHD tech, the agents eventually cornered him on the outside of the island, where he was preparing to launch his missiles containing the new virus. But with only seconds to spare, the agents were able to destroy the missile launcher. Keener then launched a head-on attack, using his superior SHD tech to push the agents back. However, during the attack, he was heavily wounded. He managed to escape to the pier, but his injuries proved too much. The division agents caught up to him, and before they could stop him, he activated his rogue agent network, telling the agents that they have no idea what is coming, before dying shortly after. At this stage, the rogue agent network appears to be basically Keener's version of the SHD. Essentially, it looks like all agents who have had their connection to Isaac severed after going rogue now have access to this new network with a new AI called Anna. The few rogue agents we've come across so far are from the first wave of Division agents released into New York and Washington, D.C. So it is possible that these are all the agents Keener was able to be in contact with, and possibly the reason why Keener traveled to Washington, D.C. after we lost track of him in New York. He was recruiting. But there are a number of different types of rogue agents out there, and not all of them would want to be involved. And some of them have even been working with the Black Tusk and want to get rid of the rogue agents just as badly as the Division does. However, it must be noted how far Aaron Keener's personality shifted from the point of being left alone in the Dark Zone to the end of Warlords of New York.
This is Agent Aaron Keener reporting in from DZ-02. The JTF has pulled out and are preparing a retreat from Manhattan. Any agents who are still alive, know that we are on our own. That's fine. We don't need the JTF. We don't even need the Division or the government's permission to do what has to be done. We were trained for this, to complete the mission against all odds, to ensure the continuity of government, to save what remains. But what kind of mission is that? The government doesn't care about us. We're expendable, sure, but they have carelessly thrown us aside for no reason. And why should we sacrifice ourselves for a state that doesn't deserve it? We should all take a moment to reflect on that and ask if the mission still stands. Me, I'm not so sure anymore.
At the beginning, around the outbreak, Keener was highly intelligent and incredibly sure of himself. He also showed strong determination and perseverance. After turning rogue, his outlook changed, as he believed that the rules and laws that used to govern them no longer exist, and that the only way to survive is by being the one in control. So as a consequence of this, he began to use his abilities in manipulation and influence to push others into achieving his goals. Audio logs in Washington, D.C. showed that he started to develop a massive ego, and later on, in Lower Manhattan, a huge superiority complex was beginning to emerge, with an even greater thirst for power. Right up until the point of Warlords of New York, Keener was always 2 steps ahead of the Division. Yet, his final encounter played out like your typical action movie, with the crazy villain being thwarted in his plans by the unflinching hero, and he was taken down fairly easily. The whole final mission plays out like we caught him off guard, except we didn't. He knew the Division was coming, and he had plenty of opportunity to escape. Remember, he has never had any problems with reminding the Division that he is the smartest person in the room. Yet, to be caught out on an island, with no backup plan other than to take on the Division face to face, doesn't quite fit in with what we've seen from him up until now. Yes, there is his legacy, as he liked to call it, but did he really need to die in order to unleash them? It's probably fair to say that Keener certainly looked rather weathered by the time we got to him. Perhaps his life on the run had finally got the best of him, and he had nothing more to give. I mean, they do say that there is a very fine line between genius and insanity. Perhaps he fell over that line long before we caught up with him. He's trying to save the city by trying to blow up the city, because he feels that's how to save the city, because he feels betrayed by the government. It's clear that Keener was done with society. He had lost faith in mankind. He seemed to believe that it was his responsibility to help reset society, and hypothesized that by killing the vast amount of the population with the virus, only a select few would survive due to their natural immunity and/or their ability to adapt to this new environment. As a consequence of this, a new society would be born. This all sounds very similar to what the creator of the Dollar Flu had in mind, Dr. Gordon Amherst. But even then, what does the Rogue Agent Network have to do with any of this? Why were they only activated at that moment, as he was dying? And what is their overall goal? Again, it isn't very Keenerish just to activate them with the sole purpose of being a general nuisance. There surely must be more to it. Or maybe I'm looking at this from the wrong direction. Let's go back to the Black Tusk and Natalia Sokolova for a second. This organization, or their employers at least, represents everything that Keener stands against. And with President Ellis at this time being on their payroll and no government to remove his presidency, he was still technically the president. So there is the potential there that Ellis, or anyone who could control Isaac, may have been capable of marking all remaining agents as rogue. Or alternatively, he could have declared the SHD deactivated and mark all of those who refused to conform as rogues. And if any of this did happen, the Division would be severely crippled when they lose access to Isaac and the network. However, because of Keener's Rogue Agent Network, they'd be able to continue on as normal, with potentially even more capability. But this didn't happen. Division agents were able to proceed as normal. Perhaps the activation of the Rogue Network was only in the situation that he failed. Or maybe he realized that he would need to die in order for the division to redirect their focus on the true objective. Up until this point, the division had been investing a lot of their time and resources into finding Keener, and maybe in order for them to finally see the big picture, he needed to eliminate himself from the scenario. With Keener gone, the true enemy would be revealed. He had always been fighting against the government and any other organization that mimics a government, for example the Black Tusk. Sure, what is left of the division is a nuisance to Keener, but they have never been his main priority. In his eyes, they just hadn't seen the light yet. Maybe he knew that he would eventually have to make the ultimate sacrifice for the people to help the division on the right path.
Killing is easy. Notice I didn't say killing people is easy. If you think of them as people, it suddenly gets that much harder. But if you simply look at the balance sheet, how much of an obstacle someone is or how much benefit there is in letting them keep breathing a while longer, then it becomes simple math. And simple math is simple to do. It's almost as easy as putting 2 bullets center mass and a third one in the head.
So I guess the question lies, was the Rogue Agent Network Keener's last gift to the division? In Year 5, Season 3, I'm hoping we see a number of answers to the questions we've had since his death. Some of the big ones for me include, why have we heard nothing about the Rogue Agent Network or Anna since his death? Was what he called his legacy more than just a cell of rogue agents? And why did Keener go all weird and out of character at the end there? Also, while I'm at it, I'm sorry Stovepipe, I know everyone keeps calling you the pretty one, but Keener is the ultimate bachelor of this franchise, not you. Maybe I have a type. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I actually really enjoyed catching up on Keener's intel in this video, and sadly it's actually reignited my anger towards the writers for killing him off. But, you know, hopefully this upcoming season will help me get over this. Thanks again, and Extremis Malus, Extrema Remedia.
You might be wondering why I'm leaving these. Perhaps it's a deep-seated need for confession. Then again, maybe not. I haven't done anything I'm not proud of, and I have no need to seek absolution from anyone, least of all you. Maybe I'm bored. It's hard being one step ahead of everyone else, and this is my way of giving you a little bit of a helping hand to make things more challenging. Of course, that's the sort of thing made-up villains do. Nah, I'm perfectly happy to maximize my advantage. Or maybe I just want to get you spinning in circles. Now check for yourself. Are there subtle contradictions in what I've told you? Is it hard to figure out what I'm trying to tell you? Maybe that's the point. Then again, maybe it isn't.